Hi, and welcome to Tremco Live. I'm Marcy Tyler, the Director of Building Science for Tremco Commercial Sealants and Waterproofing. I'm excited to be here every Friday to talk to you guys about industry challenges, talk to you about what's new, what's going on in the construction world, and I'm most excited about being able to do this with my partner and co-host, Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul Hogenboom. I'm the president of the Tremco Construction Products Group. Marcy, a fine collection of companies, brands, product systems all over the world.
All over the world. I think last week and all of last month, we talked about glazing, and we talked about a lot of what we like to call unicorns.
Yeah.
I think this month, as we've mentioned, we're talking about sports venues.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, we're talking about really unique solutions. And I think our unicorns in this case might be our people.
Well, and the venues.
And the venues.
The venues
absolutely.
They all have their own great stories to them and history. So I think everybody will enjoy the venue and the people at the same time.
Exactly. So I think that's what our goal is this month, is to bring you some of these solutions that are related to our sports venues, but then to also give you some background of these facilities too.
Yeah, and we have a history, I think a proven history, that once we get involved in helping restore the venue, the teams seem to have much more success.
I know you're setting up one particular story.
I'm just saying.
For the future. But yes, that makes a lot of sense. Once again, pretty excited in the month of October. It's been pretty exciting sports time anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
You can watch, what was it, last week, the Stanley Cup, the finals, and this week, our beloved Indians.
Oh.
There was a cartoon where it was a guy like walked in, hung up his hat, walked in, picked up his hat, and walked back out again. That was kind of our showing at the ballpark for the Indians.
Yeah, but they did make the postseason.
They did.
It's always.
They did.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to be able to watch football, baseball, and hockey all in one week.
You got basketball. You got LeBron's back in the final. Sadly, not as a Cavalier.
Not as a Cavalier. We got the Lakers playing the Heat.
You even have some tennis being played right now, which is abnormally late over the French Open.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then there's my mom always watching golf.
Tour de France just finished.
See?
That's usually not in September.
It's all happening all together. So I guess COVID did something, right? It pushed our sports all together at the same time. So as we mentioned, we're gonna talk about sports venues today. So we've always got a few slides we prepared to kind of tell that story. And today is no different with our little icon here of our sports arenas. I always like to start off with some information about sports venues. So how many sports arenas in America? Well, you can see this is a study that was done in 2016, and this is all about 45 stadiums and arenas from 4 major professional sports that were getting constructed or renovated to a tune of $28 billion. So that's previous facts, right? And then how many sports stadiums are there in the world? And you can see there's quite a lot of considered stadiums that are around the world.
Yeah, another little factoid I got some years ago is just how many hockey arenas are there in Canada alone, right? Which are pretty big, sizable facilities. There's over 3,000.
Wow.
Just in Canada alone. So there's a lot of these large sports facilities that need to be able to control keeping water out, and controlling airflow and occupant comfort, stuff like that.
Absolutely. We've got some noteworthy pictures up there on the screen as well. We've got Ford Field, so we'll talk about that at some point.
Yeah.
We've got some restoration work that we did at the Quicken Loans, now Rocket Mortgage, and I had to put Joe's picture up there, Joe Slattery.
Yeah.
He worked on that project, and it's a monumental picture for us today, especially because he is retiring.
47 years. We
47
believe that
years.
to be a Tremco field sales record. That's absolutely amazing.
Yep.
We're debating, did he start at age 5 or 10?
I think so.
15.
I think so, for sure.
What a history.
Definitely. We got Gillette Stadium shown there as well. The Gillette Stadium, we've got Wills
Now
Field.
there's probably some people booing at this point at Gillette Stadium. But look, Tom Brady got traded.
Yes. Well, you know what? And I watching a lot of sports this week. I watched the whole story on Drew Bledsoe.
Yes. Huh?
And we share a birthday, Drew and I.
Really?
Birth date and year. So I'm the same age as Drew Bledsoe. So he's now one of my favorite. He opened a winery, so I'm gonna have to check out his wine one of these days soon. And last but not least, there's a picture at the bottom there, and that is a stadium, a local stadium in Massillon, Ohio, about 1 hour and 7 minutes exactly from where Paul and I sit in Cleveland, Ohio. That is a high school stadium. So Paul, trivia question for you.
Yeah.
How many high schools do you think there are in the US?
Oh boy, I'm gonna go with 13,000.
13,000. Okay, according to the data that I pulled, 24,000.
Wow.
Of the 24,000, if you pull in Canada too, the numbers were a little mixed because they have some hybrid schools that have lower class and secondary school. Altogether, that was 30,000. So for all of North America. And then for how many of those high schools have football teams?
I'm gonna go with 22,000 out of 30.
Not bad, not bad. So we have 16.
Okay.
16,000. So of the 16,000 football teams, if they need to be renovated in some way, this is a great story we're telling, but it's also a great story about high school football in general. So very exciting to be able to bring this story to you today.
Yeah, we're gonna get a little maybe history.
History for sure. History for sure. So to kick it off, as we talk about high school stadiums, we talk about high school football on Friday that we are here with you guys today.
Was that you with the mascot?
It is me with the mascot.
Wow.
I took a picture of the mascot and added it in. It went with the colors. I thought it looked nice. A shout out to Derek Schumacher. He went to school. He's our sales rep in Boston. Yeah. He went to school in Massillon. Wow. And his family may be watching right now, and they are going to be at the game tomorrow. So this high school, Massillon, Ohio, has their McKinley is their rival, and they have a big game tomorrow. So normally there'd be lots of fanfare going on prior to, but with COVID it's kind of limiting that. But so I put this question up there because I want to know from all of you. We have a new feature that we're working using, and it's called a polling feature. So we are going to pull up a polling question for all of you right now. And it talks about, what does Friday Night Lights mean to you? So I think we've got that coming up.
Okay.
So were you on the field? Were you in the stands? Were you in the band or other? Is our polling question right now. Also, wow. My question to you, Paul, Friday Night Lights, were you on the field, in the stands, or in the band or other?
Well, I was not a football player, so I would have been in the stands.
In the stands.
And then, of course, during the winter, I was definitely on the court.
Ah, basketball.
Yeah.
Very good.
I don't have a good enough memory to know if we played on Friday nights or not, sadly. I should know that, but I don't.
We are sharing the results right now that show 38% of you were on the field, 42% were in the stands, 4% were in the band, and 15% were other. So for me, I was more than likely in the stands watching. In my hometown, we didn't have a high school stadium part of our high school grounds. It was the city stadium that we utilized for sports events.
Yeah, I think different states, I think Ohio's big on playing on Friday night. And I think where I grew up, they played Saturday early afternoon.
Right.
So.
Well, and that's what I'm interested in, just doing some research on high school. So generally, I think it's the freshman Thursday, the varsity team Friday, and the JV Saturday is kind of what I was told. So it's just kind of interesting tradition in the state of Ohio. So I'm sure all of you probably have different traditions, but of course that Friday Night Lights holds true for lots of you. So just to kind of bring that human interest to our presentation today, thanks for participating in that poll. We're going to continue to do those as we continue to do our Tremco Live broadcasts. Our stadium, without further ado, that we are talking about today is the Massillon Washington Tigers Stadium. So it's located, as I said, in Massillon, Ohio. It is called the Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. So it was renamed Paul Brown, after Paul Brown, of course. The history in American sporting culture coming together on Friday nights is so great for this winning football team. So you can see this picture from 1939 when they were constructing it originally, and we were very excited to be a part of their restoration work that has occurred over the last 3 years. Some other great facts about this is the fanfare associated with this particular stadium is incredible. This is a video. We have 2 guests we're going to be bringing on in a minute to show this video. Stands are obviously not full because this is COVID, right? This is recent. They have a live tiger that they bring out.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's pretty intense. And to be on the field today was pretty incredible. Just give you a view of that real quick. And it was voted I think it's number 3 of the American's best high school football stadiums, which I think is an interesting fact. And so if you look at the poll that was done by USA Today High School, is based on a variety of different things. And this one actually got to be number 3. So the first one was in Alaska, the second one was in Hawaii, and the third one was in Massillon, Ohio.
That sure covers a lot of ground.
Yes, so it's based on a lot of different things, obviously venue, the history of the team itself. This one is loaded with history. Obviously you can see some of that information there, obviously with being named after Paul Brown. What's interesting, when it was first constructed, the cost was only $246,000.
Wow.
And capacity is 16, almost 17,000. So prior to 1981, it was more because of the way they had to manipulate the stadium itself. But I was talking to some of the locals today, and they said that capacity on a McKinley night or McKinley team, their rival would be into the 20,000. They put chairs wherever they could to facilitate.
I bet you the energy is just
insane.
Off the charts.
Off the charts, exactly. And it's also from a history perspective, it's a winning team too. So it's in the top 100 of the winningest high school football programs of all time. This is facts from CBS Sports. So number 1 is based in Georgia. 2, 3, and 4 are all Kentucky-based high schools, and number 5 is Massillon, Ohio. Huh. So Derek told me that was false. They're of course number 1. In his opinion. And what was so cool, we were down there today. I'm going to introduce our guest here in 1 second. There's just fanfare all over the place. So I captured this picture on the back of some kid's pickup truck. It's a blow-up tiger, but it's just, there's a lot going on there, and I can't imagine what it would have been like had we not been going through COVID. So without further ado, we want to welcome Kevin Butler and Kevin Horchey, who were key players on this project. They did work obviously with West Gilmore as well, and here's some pictures of the project team going on here. So fellas, how are you? There's Kevin. Kevin 1 or Kevin 2?
There you go. I'll be number 2.
Welcome to Tremco Live, guys.
Thank you very much.
Now, I probably stole some of your thunder when it comes to the history of that stadium itself, but I know there's some pretty cool history of how we came about this opportunity that I'd love for you guys to share. So Kevin, take it away.
32-year history with the local facility director of Massillon City Schools, John Petro. This is the third different job that I've worked with him at. And we've re-roofed virtually the entire district already. And we did some paint work for him. He asked us about looking at the bleachers for the band, and we actually sanded down the seats and painted them. And when we were doing that, we just started looking around and seeing other problems. He said, "Is there anything you can do with this?" And obviously, I said yes. And the rest, that was 3 years ago, and the rest is history.
So I love that story because it started off with one area. Yeah. We've had similar conversations like that, and other opportunities come up. And because you had such a great relationship with them already, working on other areas of the school, it was a no-brainer for them to then get Kevin involved.
Yeah, there's really nothing that they can't point out that Kevin can say yes to.
Exactly. And I know a key part of that was obviously having Kevin Horchey with you throughout this process. This picture here, I'm gonna just go back to our slides real quick. Keep your cameras on so we can keep seeing your smiling faces. This picture here was just you guys gathering today. We were able to go down there today. This picture doesn't show it because it did turn out to be a nice, sunny, beautiful day down there, but I love how you guys were coming together, really giving that customer that final look through. So tell me a little bit about that.
Kevin, you have the floor.
Okay. Well, we met out with our contractors and some of our associates from Sealants. Wesley Gilmore was out there from Sealants for the coating project. We looked at first, there was a lot going on. We had Carboline for all the painting that was done on the project. So we had the painting contractor out there, met early this morning at 10 o'clock. And as we walked through the project, we talked about how all the warranties would be packaged, and how we would help them out with the warranties, how they wanted them. One of the unique things that they got with the warranties was for the coatings. It's a 20 and 20 year, so that's unheard of in this industry. So it was 20 years for labor and 20 years for maintenance.
Material.
And Kevin, I think what we got for Carboline, we got 15 years on the paint, right?
Yeah.
And the Carboline worked with us hand in hand with the contractor. The contractor was fantastic. We had both under the stadium, and then on the home where we're at, as you see those photos there, that's the home side, which was concrete and metal, and then the visitor side was all metal, which had Carboline. It had a Carboline on the more expensive Carboline on the surface on the outside, and then on the underside we had it was a less expensive, so we could save some money for the customer, and again give them a 15-year warranty.
Yeah, it was great because based on the exposure, obviously the underside didn't need the same kind of wear that the surface needed. So it was great to be able to give them that option. Kevin Horgy, you had to go to another meeting, so Kevin Butler and I got a tour of the inside of their practice area. So just to kind of show their dedication to football there in Massillon, Ohio. If you guys want to see it, Kevin Butler ran the length of that stadium and caught a couple passes with a couple of the guys. So if you want, I can send you guys those videos. Just let me know. Sorry, Kevin Butler, I'm sharing them with people because you did a great job. Just to kind of walk us through that whole process again, getting something like this, a drone footage picture. Now this is during the progress. I know we talked today, and the representative that was there from that applied the Carboline from Phoenix is going to take another drone picture of the completed. So we'll be able to add that to our information. What's really cool when you look at this from a holistic approach, being able to help this particular customer was so critical, and he said it today. He said, normally we're not really good at something like this, keeping all of our documentation in one place because we've got so many different pieces and parts coming together. But Kevin Butler let him know that everything that he's gonna need for that entire work is gonna be on one flash drive in one spot because it's coming from one company.
Yeah, I think that's just something very unique about, for us on these really big projects because of the breadth of our capabilities.
Yep.
It's pretty much nothing we can't say yes to, and then most importantly, wrap under that one relationship. Exactly.
And I think that's the key part of this is for somebody to organize all these different pieces and parts, it's hard for them. And I'm sure his issue is not unique. I'm sure a lot of different facility managers may have that issue too. So he was very excited to know that everything he needs to know is going to come on one flash drive. And that includes maintenance, as well as, what to look for, what to expect. And I know there's some future work. Now that this looks all good, there's some other areas that might need a little sprucing up. As soon as you fix one area, something else pops up as an opportunity. The guy shared with me that there's a lot of different products that are represented here on this, and they shared this great video with us here too. So this is a progressive video, and I love seeing the weather change. I love seeing it from one area, and you'll see as the work progresses how everything changes in that stadium. Even the plastic coming in front of you. And I think here comes my favorite part too. They're putting down the Puma across the way. They're reinstalling the stadium seating and the Tigers logo, or the Tigers letters. So pretty cool.
Over what period of time was that, Kevin?
Yeah.
It started in the end of February, beginning of March, and we just completed it right before the first game, which was 5 weeks ago.
Wow, so that's actually pretty fast for really a end-to-end renovation.
Well, and did you see, welcome to weather in Ohio.
Yeah.
Right.
Believe it or not, we were very, very fortunate. We had a deadline, originally a deadline of August 28th, and they moved it up because of the state of the world we're in right now with the coronavirus. The season actually started Their home season started 2 weeks earlier. We were very fortunate. We had a very, very mild spring, and we were able to do the painting and the Puma during colder weather with no problem.
So perfect based on our awesome products.
Yeah,
We were able to make
and
that
Puma, of
fly.
course, one of its key features is it's a cold, I mean, it can handle a wide variety of temperature, but up to minus 20 F. I don't know if we saw minus 20 F this year.
I don't think so. Definitely some snow.
One of the big helps we had too is with the Euclid chemical products that we were able to use on the concrete. If we would have had to use other patching materials that may take 28 days to cure and before you can coat over, the Euclid chemical, we were able to get in there, and you can, it sets up, and and it is tested with our products, and get in there in 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
So that was a huge help.
We always talk about how we're trying to shrink time, right? This is a great example of that.
And Kevin Butler, that video that I showed earlier on, that's you filming it at that opening game, right? In July?
It is. Yes, it was. That was the unfortunate with that video. If you look closely in the stands, there was 1,500 people in the stands, and there should have been 16,000.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
unfortunately, with where we're at right now.
I know we've got a couple other pictures as we kind of walk through here to show here, especially, you know, obviously this is during the process of removing everything, but you can see the wear on the concrete surfaces, the wear on the benches, the wear on all the surfaces. So this was definitely a good time to get going on it. The human interest of this is, I think these bleacher covers, you guys had trouble with those, correct? People were trying to run off with them?
Yeah, it's kind of funny you say that. We brought dumpsters in, took off the fiberglass covers, and underneath of it had 3 2-inch by 3-inch cedar planks that were put on in 1939. But because of the history of the stadium and history of the football program at Massillon, people wanted those fiberglass covers for memorabilia. And I can remember being over there on a Saturday and someone walking up to the gate said, "Hey, I'm coming in to get one of the fiberglass covers." And the gentleman we deal with, John Petro, the facility director, said, "No, you're not." And it got to the point that they actually had people, some of them were on eBay for sale.
Well, you told me that story, and as we were leaving, there was a gentleman standing there next to one that he had taken. And I walked over to him, and he looked like, I go, "Hey, I was working on this stadium," and he thought I was going to yell at him. And I go, "I just want to know your story." And he said, "I'm a senior. I'm so disappointed that this year's just been so different. This is my last, McKinley home game. I had to bring my stolen bleacher with me and take pictures of it." So it's very ironic. Heaven tells the truth. I saw it in action. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. So obviously these are during the whole progression of this work is these progress reports that are so helpful. One, to tell everyone what's going on, the situation, what work needs to be done, and it's just a great communication tool. Kevin Horchey, I know lots of these were produced for this project.
We had the project was 100 days we had. So we had our supervisor was out there for 100 days. So what's nice about these reports, he's able to do them on his phone. They go out as soon as they're done. They're doing one of the big things that I want to make sure we mention this is that before we started, we had our safety team come out. Ed Houskin, I want to give him a shout out. They came out, made sure everything was safe before we even started. So they looked at the site-specific safety plan, and because you had 4 or 5 different companies out there, and we had to work together. Where, as you saw that last slide, you had the risers were metal and the steps were concrete. So we were able to work with the one contractor who actually did all the blasting for the gentleman that was doing the concrete coating. So it was very unique to have these photos and have a communication where the contractor got these, the owner got them, Kevin got them, I got them, So it was great when we would do our weekly reports. Everything was right there for them.
Yes, this is just 3 pages of, this was a 5-page report, and each of these pictures are interactive. So when you're in that folder, you can pull up each of the pictures and really see what's going on in each of them. And from that, I took a lot of these before pictures, and then while we were there today, I got some after pictures. So really dramatic, showing the difference between the two. I know here, Kevin Horty, you were telling me how they had to widen the aisles here.
Yes, if you see down on where the letters G, H, and J, that was the original width of the stairs. So on the stadium, both the home side and the visitor side, we actually widened the stairs and put the handrails to assist people up and down the stadium. Before, there was no handrail at all, so you were climbing up and down at your own risk. The unique part of this is there's a lot of season ticket holders in there. And as you know, most of the season ticket holders are faithful older fans. So they're going to greatly appreciate these handrails when they're getting up to their seats.
Yeah, there's some closer up pictures too of just showing, Kevin kept mentioning the difference in materials here. So you've got this is the metal and then the concrete. So over here, this is obviously the before and this is the after. So we had great coordination obviously with WTI, Kevin Horty, working with Massillon to do the flat area, the concrete area, and then Phoenix doing the Carboline material on the rise. Yeah. So great.
See, it says the power of Puma below.
Yeah. I thought I'd add a little wordplay in there, the power of Puma.
So they almost have a Puma mascot, tiger, Puma.
True,
close.
Exactly. When you see the stadium, it looks kind of like a Puma. It's just so impressive when you pull up there to check out that stadium. So lots of great before and after pictures, but these are all after. It's just very impressive to see the work that was done there, the renovation, how clean everything looks, and now safe too, because if it's deteriorating, if there's no railings.
Well, they're taking an 80-year-old structure and returning it to an as new or better than new condition, and of course with all its history intact. Yep. Pretty cool.
Exactly.
And one of that, I want to make sure that we also recognize the Tom Powell, who was the project manager on site, and along with Tom, the owner, John Petro. I mean, between those two guys, they could talk football all day long, and they got things coordinated, and that it's a pleasure to work with a customer who was willing to help out. He was very proud of the stadium, as we were. Tom's a season ticket holder for the Browns, and he couldn't be happier working on this history. So it showed.
Absolutely. So just some of the underside work that was done, being able to pick the right products for the performance needs. So the under area didn't need the same kind of performance that the surface needed. So the visitor side is all metal, so that's all Carboline. The home side is that mix of concrete and metal to add both products there together. So it was a great marriage between those companies. And speaking of marriage and project team, here's some finished photos and a lot of the different individuals and companies that were involved for this whole project. So Kevin, any shout outs you want to do here to our project team?
Yes, would love to, a huge shout out to Mr. Brad Meth, who poured, basically it took us, he poured three years of his time with me side by side to get this project where it was. So thank you very much, Brad.
So we got Massillon, Farnham Equipment Company, Phoenix, and then RG Smith Company. So that whole project team is what really comes together, really provides that full solution, and really is a showcase for us. They're so excited about this stadium that they said anytime we want to come down there, anytime we want to show any of our other customers this work, the door's open.
Yeah, and you had mentioned the flash drive where everything's together, and I think, again, the cool thing here is it's really Kevin, two Kevins today, that really are taking ownership for the owner of managing and building all these relationships and bringing all these trusted partners together. So it's pretty good work.
I don't have the small blue. where this all started, but you know, that was at the far end. And now that this is all done, they're looking at where you started your work, Kevin, and they want to get rid of that now, because now that, you know, 3 years later, now they're looking back at that work, right? So
Well,
it's pretty.
at the end of the day, just like every other Tremco rep, you have to take ownership of whatever you do. We are the face of Tremco to the customer, so we have to take ownership.
Pretty great human interest story as well. Once again, just to kind of tooling around Massillon, Ohio this morning, seeing tiger stuff everywhere.
What's going on with that bus, Marcy?
This is the bus.
Are you on that bus?
I was not on it, but I talked to the person who was driving it this morning, and they used to have a huge parade the day before their McKinley. So they parked all their vehicles, and they kind of sadly kind of stood around it because they weren't able to have the same kind of fanfare. But you know, all the seniors have their numbers on that bus, and there was quite a few of the stolen bleachers inside that bus.
Okay.
I found a lot of them, Kevin. I found where they went, so they went right into that bus. So, well, Kevin, thank you so much for the tour of this great project. I know we're really looking forward to engaging with our customers on project work like this. And this is just one of many of the opportunities we're going to bring to you in the month of October and our sports venue.
Yeah, what a great story.
It really
What a
was.
great story. Thanks, Kevin and Kevin.
Yes, thanks, Kevin and Kevin. So
Again, I want to shout out to Joe Slattery. Thanks for the 47 years, Joe. He was a great guy to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys. Okay, so Paul, next couple of weeks, we've got some more arenas, venues.
You able to tell us at this point? Okay.
I like to keep them secret from you. Secret and flexible, just in case something goes wrong. But we'll be talking about your favorite ones, so don't worry.
All right.
I know they're all your favorite, but
They all got great stories. Yeah. This one is, you know, going back to 1939.
Yeah.
And just a story about how Kevin's asked to solve a small problem.
Yep.
And then the
All of these.
customer says, can you solve this and this and this? And the answer is yes.
Yeah. And it was great sitting there talking to him today, and just like I said, you know, having one spot for all of his follow-up information from one company.
Yep.
So
Stadium's ready for its next 80 years.
it is. So we wish Massillon Tigers the best of luck today.
Yeah, we forgot to ask how they're doing this year. We'll have to look that
Look
up.
it up for sure. Once again, thanks everybody for joining us on Tremco Live. Send us your sports arena venue challenges, your case studies, or even your picture from Friday Night Lights if you'd like. We'd love to share that kind of human interest information on Tremco Live. And as always, we really appreciate you joining us.
See you next week.
Thank you.